Hey guys, welcome to another video. If you're new to my channel, I talk about mental health, spirituality, and any insights that have been helpful for me in my journey. If that sounds like it's something that you'd be interested in, then check out my other videos and consider subscribing. If you'd like to work with me one-on-one, I do offer coaching sessions. Those will be available on my website. You'll see all the information there. Feel free to check that out. And if you're interested in scheduling one, just send me an email through the email provided below in the description below or on my website. So today I want to talk about psychosis. I had someone recently put a comment in the comment section on one of my videos asking me to kind of describe what I feel like causes psychosis and what to do to prevent psychosis. And I thought that was something interesting that I could maybe dive into deeper. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Before I get into it, I just want to remind you all that I am not a mental health professional. Everything I talk about in this video is based off of my own experience and is not to be taken as medical advice or professional advice. It is simply my reflection on my own experiences and something that I just want to share with you. If you're going to make any changes based off of what I share today, make sure you follow up with your mental health provider to make sure that is a helpful and beneficial change for you based off of where you are in your process and the care team that you were working with. So psychosis is essentially a disconnection from a grounded consensus reality that everybody can kind of understand and operate in. So psychosis is a separation from that, and so that person is having an experience that is difficult for people who are grounded in that consensus reality to connect with and understand. And it can be problematic because when in that state of psychosis, most often that person is not self-aware, is not aware that they are disconnected, and they're not aware of the feedback that they're receiving from other people. And that can create kind of a dangerous state, both for the individual and also for the people around them, potentially. And so ideally, that person is able to ground and able to integrate their experience and be able to once again reconnect with others and be able to like communicate in a way that makes sense and is able to be received by others who are existing in a grounded consensus reality. And so the question is, how does this state come about? I think there's a lot of factors that go into psychosis and where it comes from starting from biology to experiences to stress to induced altered states. There's lots of different ways that psychosis can arise. There's scientific evidence showing that psychosis and schizophrenia and other kinds of like bipolar and stuff like that, those kinds of predispositions are kind of passed through families. So that implies that there's a genetic component to potentially experiencing psychosis. But I think that anybody has the potential to have a psychosis. And I could be wrong in saying that. Again, I'm not a mental health professional, but I think at the core, what a psychosis is the inability to ground in a certain experience or ground in the consciousness that you may be experiencing in that moment. So let me explain kind of what that means. Imagine your consciousness as kind of a bowl of soup or some kind of bowl of liquid. And your physical body is the bowl that holds the consciousness or the spirit or whatever, your life, your consciousness, essentially. So there's a few different ways I think that psychosis can kind of manifest. Some people might have a bowl with holes in it, and so the consciousness and the boundary between the body and like different states of consciousness is kind of compromised because there's no barrier, so there's kind of a leaking that's happening, and so in that kind of situation, it might be kind of hard to ground that experience in. You might need to kind of learn how to blend with it, and you might need some like medication to help with that grounding to kind of fill some of those holes that maybe the biology is not able to hold. So that might be kind of a case for potentially schizophrenia, where there's just kind of the container is not able to hold the consciousness as securely as somebody who maybe doesn't struggle with those kinds of altered states consistently. Another example of psychosis would be somebody who does have a bowl that is solid and that is strong, but they have experiences that cause the water levels or the soup levels or whatever you have, whatever kind of beverage you have in the, whatever liquid you have in your bowl, to spill over. So let's say you have a lot of stress in life going on. You have a lot of different situations happening. And there's just more and more and more and more stress that kinds of piles on. And eventually it gets so much that the bowl can't hold it all. So it spills over. And then that's where someone kind of loses their connection with reality, because it's just too much for that person to hold. So the body and the mind kind of use a break from reality as a way to cope with that amount of stress and inability to kind of deal with that energy. Another example would be like inducing an altered state. So this could be kind of using psychedelics or using kind of like meditation or any kind of like spiritual practice potentially that could bring you into an altered state without you having the correct preparation for it. There's a lot of traditions that use specific like methods and technologies of thought and practice to be able to develop the container, the bowl in which can hold energy and consciousness. And so if somebody doesn't have the proper guidance or proper training to be able to develop that bowl so it's strong enough to hold those powerful experiences, then it can cause a like kind of a crack or an opening or a breaking to some degree of the bowl, like kind of like opening a door. And so the consciousness can kind of spill out if that bowl's not prepared and hasn't been reinforced in the way, and kind of shaped in a way that is receptive or able to handle the soup. So in this kind of situation, it would maybe be maybe adding a specific kind of liquid to the bowl that the bowl is not designed to hold yet, and so it compromises the bowl. And so in that situation, might cause a psychotic break, and that person might need to kind of retreat from practicing that kind of practice in order to kind of ground and come back to an equilibrium. And so each psychosis is like very different and unique in this sense, from what I've experienced and from what I like can see with my non-mental health professional eyes. Just kind of what I sense. At the core of all of the psychotic experiences is being able to develop a container that is strong enough to be able to hold that experience and to be able to stay present eventually to the best of your ability with the body and with this reality that we live in. And so there's a lot of different ways to do that. One of those ways is medication. Medication is an effective tool in assisting with grounding. So that's more of a chemical assistance with grounding. There are also other ways of grounding. Spending time in nature can be grounding. Exercise can be very grounding. Things that are body focused generally are going to be more grounding because you're focusing your intention and your energy on your physical body. Nourishing yourself, giving yourself the right amount of food that you need, making sure that you're eating. Eating is a very grounding practice, and certain foods are more grounding than others. So personally, again, everybody's body is different, so you have to figure out what works for you. But I have personally found that meat is much more of a grounding food than plants usually are. Proteins in specific, I find, are particularly grounding. Even if they're plant-based, they can be grounding as well. So just kind of listening to your body, and if you have like an urge to eat certain things, I found that usually there's a reason why I'm eating those things. Another tool that I have been using, and something that I would definitely think might be helpful for some of you, is what's called grounding. And grounding is basically or earthing rather. Earthing is basically connecting with the earth physically. And I think that is something that we kind of lack today because we live in houses and we're not necessarily directly connected to the earth a lot. And so I actually do have like earthing mats in my house that I've noticed a big difference with. I feel much more like calm and grounded. It is a subtle shift. It's something that's takes a while to kind of notice sometimes, especially if you're not kind of tuned into it. But I have noticed a difference. The brand that I use is Earthing. I do have an affiliate link for their products because I think they're extremely helpful. It's helped both me and my girlfriend like get better sleep, feel more restful, feel more connected, feel more grounded in general. So that's another tool that I use. There are so many different tools that you can use to help with grounding, but the core of dealing with these kind of states is being able to ground in the experiences. And I know I've talked about this in a previous video. I will say that preventing psychosis is quite difficult just because most people don't really know that they're going to have one until it happens. And so the preventative measures are pretty difficult, and I think would require a larger awareness on a societal level to create people and to educate people on grounding and being able to ground and being able to stay present in the body, which is something that I think will probably become prevalent in the mental health field here moving forward, as I think it's an essential part of not only our physical wellness, but also our planetary wellness as well, to be able to connect with the earth and connect with the ground beneath us and to be present in daily life. I think that is kind of a shift that is happening and needs to happen, and will allow for people who maybe struggle with altered states like this to be more present and to have the tools to be able to navigate through that, and to have a culture that is able to hold space for them as they go through that, to help them to kind of ground in that state. And grounding helps for more than just psychosis. It helps for all kinds of emotions, anger, frustration, anxiety. Psychosis is just kind of an extreme state where you're disconnected. But a lot of those other emotions that are generally viewed as not helpful or kind of negative can also benefit from grounding techniques and connecting with the earth and developing a container for that energy. So I think that's all I have to share about that. So to kind of sum it up, psychosis is a result of not being able to hold the soup or the water or the tea or whatever that you have in your bowl. And the process of dealing with psychosis or recovering from psychosis is being able to develop a bowl or container that is able to hold that energy and hold that whatever is in your bowl. And finding what tools work for you and finding how to do that is going to vary from person to person. And that is kind of the process. They have to develop kind of their own unique toolkit for that. So if you have any questions about what I talked about today, if this was helpful for you, please let me know in the comments below. And if you'd like to watch more videos like this, then check out my channel and maybe consider subscribing. As always, guys, make sure to seek your truth and to take time for yourself, and I will catch you in my future videos. Bye for now.